The arena lights blazed, cameras flashed, and every seat in the house was filled as fans prepared for one of the most talked-about matchups of the season, LeBron James versus Zion Williamson. The billing wasn't just about two stars, it was about two eras colliding. On one side stood LeBron James, the king, the face of basketball for over 2 decades, a man whose very name had become synonymous with dominance, durability, and legendary status. On the other side stood Zion Williamson, the explosive young phenom built like a linebacker but moving like a sprinter, the symbol of the NBA's future generation. Old school power versus new school energy, it was more than just a basketball game. It was a statement about legacy, potential, and who truly defines the future of the sport. The crowd buzzed as the opening tip-off soared into the air. From the first possession, the contrast in styles was clear. LeBron moved with controlled precision, surveying the floor like a chess master planning 10 moves ahead. Every dribble, every pass, every shot carried the weight of 2 decades of experience. He used his body like a shield, leaning into defenders, creating space with that trademark strength, and pulling up for mid-range jumpers or finding the open man with laser-like passes. Zion, by contrast, was pure kinetic energy. The second he touched the ball, he exploded toward the rim, bulldozing defenders and soaring above the crowd with gravity-defying dunks that left even seasoned announcers at a loss for words. His energy was raw, untamed, and unstoppable, and every slam was followed by fans rising from their seats in disbelief. LeBron knew this wasn't just another game. At 40 years old, still producing at an elite level, he had faced countless challengers to his throne. Kobe, Durant, Curry, Giannis, each had been billed as the heir apparent, and yet LeBron remained. Zion, however, was something different. He represented not just talent, but a force of nature. Watching him rumble down the court was like watching a young freight train, a mix of raw power and lightning agility. But LeBron wasn't ready to hand over the crown. Instead, he embraced the challenge. Driving into the paint, he lowered his shoulder and scored through contact, sending a message: "I'm still here." The battle wasn't just physical, it was psychological. Zion wanted to prove he belonged on that stage, not as a highlight reel but as a true game changer. LeBron wanted to show that wisdom, skill, and sheer willpower could still reign supreme over youthful explosiveness. LeBron knocked down a deep 3 with his signature step back, then stared down the younger star as the crowd roared. On the very next play, Zion caught an alley-oop, rising so high above the rim it looked like he had defied physics itself before slamming it down with such force the backboard seemed to tremble. But what made this duel so captivating wasn't just their individual brilliance, it was the storylines wrapped around them. LeBron, the high school prodigy turned all-time great, the kid from Akron who became the NBA's all-time leading scorer, was still rewriting the definition of longevity. Zion, the once-in-a-generation athlete whose career had been plagued by questions about health and durability, was showing the world that when he was on the floor, he was simply unstoppable. It was the perfect clash of narrative. The old guard proving his staying power versus the new guard fighting to cement his legitimacy. As the game reached the second half, the intensity ratcheted up. Zion was relentless in transition, catching the ball on the break and barreling down the lane like a hurricane, leaving defenders helpless in his wake. But LeBron adjusted, slowing the tempo using his basketball IQ to control the flow. He directed traffic, orchestrated plays, and reminded everyone why he's called the king. When Zion tried to muscle his way past him, LeBron stood his ground, bodying up and forcing tough shots. And when LeBron took it inside, Zion matched him with chase-down blocks, soaring from behind to swat the ball against the glass, a move LeBron himself had made iconic. The duel felt like a passing of the torch, but with a twist, LeBron wasn't ready to let it go, and Zion wasn't going to wait for permission to take it. Every possession turned into a spectacle, every score an exclamation mark. By the fourth quarter, the crowd was on its feet for nearly every play. The scoreboard stayed tight, with neither star allowing the other to pull away. LeBron sank clutch free throws, flexing as if to remind everyone that experience counts in crunch time. Zion responded with back-to-back dunks that nearly tore the rim off, sending shockwaves through the building. What stood out most, though, was the respect between the two. After each bucket, after each stop, there were these subtle nods, glances, even smirks. Two warriors acknowledging the greatness in each other. LeBron knew Zion's journey, the weight of expectations, and the whispers of doubt that had followed him since his injuries. Zion knew what it meant to share the floor with someone whose name was etched permanently into the history books. In those moments, their battle really transcended competition. It became symbolic of the NBA's eternal cycle of greatness. The final minutes turned into pure drama. With the score tied, LeBron drove to the basket, powering through contact and finishing with a vintage and one layup. The crowd erupted, chanting his name. But Zion wasn't done. On the very next play, he caught the ball at the top of the key, lowered his shoulder, and bulldozed through the lane for a thunderous dunk that, honestly, silenced the LeBron faithful and had his own supporters screaming in disbelief. Back and forth they went, neither giving an inch. When the buzzer finally sounded, the scoreboard showed one team ahead. But honestly, the story wasn't about who won. It was about what the fans had witnessed. It was a duel between eras, a living legend refusing to fade quietly, and a rising star proving that he belonged among the game's elite. It wasn't just basketball. It was history unfolding on the hardwood. LeBron James versus Zion Williamson wasn't simply a game. It was a clash of philosophies. Old school power, honed through years of experience, patience, and discipline, against new school energy, raw athleticism, and fearless aggression. And while time will inevitably pass the crown from one to the other, this night was a reminder of something greater. The NBA is at its best when generations collide, when the past and future share the same court, pushing each other to new heights. So was it LeBron's wisdom or Zion's energy that defined the night? Maybe it was both. What fans will remember is not just who scored what, but how it felt to watch two forces of nature go head-to-head. It was a battle of eras, a showcase of greatness, and a story that will be retold long after the final buzzer. Because sometimes the game is more than points and stats. It's about legacy, about torchbearers, and about the rare moments where history and the future collide in the same arena. And on this night, with LeBron James and Zion Williamson facing off, basketball gave us exactly that. Like this breakdown of epic showdown? Make sure to hit that like button, subscribe for more deep dives into basketball's biggest clashes, and drop a comment, whose side are you on, Team LeBron or Team Zion?